Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Freelancers Tea Break, the short and sweet podcast that you can listen to while you're making a cuppa. My name's Emma Cossey. I am a coach for freelancers, and I have not been making a lot of cups of tea recently because I've had COVID and I've been making lots of cups of lemsip and anything that soothes my throat. So I've had COVID for the last week. My husband had it for sort of 3 or 4 days before that. So we've been at home for a week and we are crawling the walls at this point. He has gone back to work today. But the Easter holiday started today. I'm recording this on April 3rd, which is actually my birthday, but we're going to pretend that's later in the week so that I can actually celebrate it and leave the house. So yes, this week, last week I was chatting to Joe, who does a lot of the support behind the scenes for me. And we were chatting about what to do this week. And I was kind of looking around my house thinking, God, it's such a mess here. Partly because we've all been sick, partly because I have ADHD, which means I struggle with housework and I buy lots of little things that I see because I have magpie tendencies and impulse buying. And we've reached a point where I need to declutter big time. And it got me to thinking, maybe I could do this for April. Maybe this could be like an overriding spring cleaning theme. So that's what I'm going to do. So in the newsletter and the podcast this month, I'm going to be covering a variety of things. I'm going to cover finances, which includes putting new processes in place or refreshing your old processes for things like your accounts and things like that, especially as we're about to come to the end of the tax year on the 5th. But also just going through your subscriptions and things like that, making sure you're not still paying for things you thought you'd cancelled. And actually with AI being so big at the moment, it might be that it's a good time to check that you're not overpaying for things that you don't need to be paying for anymore, because there's other tools or free tools or things that will do the job of one job of two tools. No, that makes no sense. It's is there one tool that will do two jobs, is what I was trying to say. So finances, I will also be looking at email lists and decluttering them, especially as so many of the email list providers now are putting a limit on the free plans and the low cost plans. So we want to make sure that the people on your list are really they want to be there, they're engaging with your content, that kind of thing. Online presence. So we'll talk about social media. It's so noisy. It's so noisy on social media at the moment. So maybe looking at filtering that down a little bit, decluttering who we follow. But also things like SEO, stuff like that. Our website, does your website need a bit of a declutter? We will talk about habits. That'll be like the 4th week, I think. So not just putting in place habits. When April is a much better time to put habits in place than January. So we'll talk about things like habit stacking, how to maintain habits and things like that. But also there'll be an element of how to do it if you are ADHD and consistency is not for you. But also I'm going to bring in a little bit there about Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendencies and how we deal with internal and external expectations, which can be really helpful with habits actually. And then we'll finish out with an actual physical declutter of your office and desk space. Now, if there is interest in this, I will pop some threads in the Facebook group as well so we can get some accountability. But I'm looking forward to doing this. Today has felt like the first spring day. It's beautiful and sunny outside. It's not quite there with the warmth, but as a pale ginger person, that's not always a bad thing for me. But I think it's a good time to refresh and do these sorts of things. So if you want to join me, come join me on the newsletter. So there's quite a few ways to join the newsletter now because I've got lots of different opt-ins and freebies. But the easiest way is to go to freelancelifestyle.co.uk/newsletter or freelancelifestyle.co.uk and the freebies button on the toolbar. That will take you to all my freebies and you should be able to get access to the newsletter there. If you've never been on the newsletter before, it comes out on Mondays, which is a very short to-do list for the week. So it has something to do to sell what you're selling or, bring on new clients, something to do for admin, and then something for self-development or self-care. And then Fridays tends to be a bit more chatty, But the Fridays during this month will be these kind of ones about spring cleaning challenges and stuff, and some tips and theories that will underpin that. So as a coach, I don't just look at the practical side. I am a very practical person, but I try and bring in some of the theory and the brain chemistry and um, the hacks to make these things a lot easier to implement. Anyway, that was this week's podcast. So I will probably be back later this week with one on finances, I think. I have my son at home for the Easter holidays, so it's finding a time when he's not whizzing around in the background yelling about Minecraft. But yeah, fingers crossed I'll be back very soon. Have a wonderful week, and all the usual links are in the show notes.